Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Equilibrium Probiotics. Ito ay ang bagong food supplement na gawa sa mga piling gulay at prutas at dumaan sa isang masusing proseso para mapangalagaan ang inyong kalusugan. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay dinisenyo para sa kalusugan ng ating tiyan, tulungan ng pagkuha ng sapat na nutrisyon at ang pagpapalabas sa ating sistema ng mga nakakasirang toxins. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may iba't ibang disenyo at sangkap base sa inyong pangangailangan. Mula sa boost para sa mga bata, fortitude, gusto rate, miracle fruit, perivicare, at ang pinakabago, liver food. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may pagmamalaki ng produktong gawa sa tala. Ito ay mabibili sa Dashen, Geta Road, San Sebastian, Phase 3, Dinaugana, Tarlac City. At para sa mga malalayong lugar, mabibili din ang produkto ng Equilibrium Probiotics sa Lazada. Ito ay eksklusibong gawa ni Ginang Malu Reyes Luray. Ano pang hinihintay nyo, mga kasanggan? Hala, bili na! Magandang umaga po mga kasangga, mga kakampi, mga kaibigan, kapamilya. Ito naman po ang inyong Kuya Dong. Maghahatid sa inyo ng inyong Daily Dose of News. MSB, Kape at Balita sa umaga. Naghahatid po ng mga nagbabagang balita at kaganapan sa loob at labas ng ating bansa. Sa loob lamang po ng 30 minutos. Best effort! Pero bago po natin simulan ang ating pagbabalita, samahan po muna ninyo ako sa isang maikling panalangin para maganda po ang simula ng ating umaga. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak at ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Mahal naming lumikha, maraming salamat sa bagong araw na ipinagkaloob ninyo sa amin. Sa mapayapang gabing lumipas at sa patuloy na pagbuhos ng inyong mga biyaya sa amin at sa aming bayan. Naway ipagkaloob mo pa sa amin ang lakas at tibay ng loob upang mapaglabanan ng kasamaan at manatili po kami sa paggawa ng mabuti sa kapwa at pagsunod sa inyong itinurong tamang landas. Lahat ng gawain namin, inaalay namin sa iyong anak na si Jesus, na aming Panginoon. Amen. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. MSB, Kape at Balita sa umaga. Hatid sa inyo ni Kuya Dong. And on to our news updates for today. Let's start off with our top news. COVID-19 hospital admissions going up. Report by Mayan J. Malin and Delon Porcalia for the Philippine Star. Hospital admissions for COVID are starting to go up nationwide, according to the Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines Incorporated. FAPI President Dr. Jose Rene de Grano reported that COVID-19 admissions in private hospitals in the National Capital Region and other parts of the country have exceeded 20% in the past days. We noticed that for the past 2 or 3 days, the number of cases really slightly increased. The rate of admissions in private hospitals also increased slightly. Negrano said in mixed English and Filipino during the Laging Handa public briefing yesterday. Before, we only had less than 20% hospital admissions. Now, a few, although not all, increased by more than 20%, and the others up to 50%. But it depends on the number of allocated beds, he added. Aside from NCR, De Grano said private hospitals in Calabarzon, particularly Cavite and Laguna as well as Aklan and Davao region, also posted a slight uptick. However, he explained that there are few medical facilities in those regions. Thus, most of the patients are crowding. He further noted that most COVID-19 admissions are considered coincidental, which means that they sought consultation for other medical reasons but turned out positive for the virus during screening. At this time, De Grano said the majority of the COVID-19 cases are mild, thus patients are advised to just isolate at home. We are closely monitoring the moderate and severe cases with comorbidities and are immune compromised. Thus, those should be monitored, and should they worsen, at least they are already in the hospital, he pointed out. Even with the rising admissions, Negrano gave assurance that there is no reason for patients to fear going to hospitals to seek medical consultation. He encouraged the public to wear face masks and to get vaccinated to protect themselves from the virus. He, however, admitted that reimposing the mandatory face mask policy would be difficult since it has already been lifted. Negrano also assured the public of the private hospital's readiness to handle a possible rise in El Nino related diseases. Moving on to the next headline news. Marcos eyes revival of PhilSupport. Report by Alexis Romero for the Philippine Star. Marcos is eyeing the revival of the Philippine Sugar Corps or PhilSupport, a state-run firm that provided financing to facilities used in the manufacture and distribution of sugar and its byproducts, which was abolished during the previous administration. In a video message released by the Presidential Communications Office or PCO, Marcos said revitalizing field support was one of the suggestions made during his meeting yesterday with stakeholders of the sugar industry in Malacanang. It's financing for farmers, especially for cooperatives and farmers associations. They were not able to work that much because they tried to abolish the field support in 2019, I think. But it was not abolished, Marcos said in Filipino. We will revive and modify it. We will see the changes can be made so that we can adjust it according to our present situation and continue their work in providing assistance to our farmers groups, he added. However, a document from the official gazette showed that PhilSupport was abolished by former President Rodrigo Duterte through Memorandum Order 30, dated October 25, 2018. In the order, Duterte said the Governance Commission for Government-Owned and Controlled Corporations had recommended the abolition of PhilSupport because its functions and purpose duplicate or overlap with those of the projects of the Sugar Regulatory Administration and state-run financial institutions. Much of the financing needs of sugar mills are being provided by the Development Bank of the Philippines, Land Bank of the Philippines, and private banking and financing firms, the former president added. PhilSupport was created in 1983 through Presidential Decree 1890, issued by the president's late father and namesake Ferdinand Marcos. Its main function was to provide financing in the acquisition, rehabilitation, and expansion of sugar mills, refineries, and other related facilities used in the manufacture, packing, storage, distribution, and shipment of sugar and its byproducts and derivatives. Also discussed during the meeting was the schedule of the importation of 150,000 metric tons of sugar and how to open up the importation to all traders. There were also discussions on plans to strengthen the local sugar industry and to identify sugar lands to increase acreage and boost production. Unfortunately, we will still import up to 150,000 metric tons. But if our production is good, we might no longer need to do it. In the end, we will still continue to favor buying local production over importation, the president said. That is what we need to balance. We need to have enough supply of sugar, but we need to prioritize the production coming from the Philippines, he added. On Monday, Marcos approved the importation of as much as 150,000 metric tons of sugar to stabilize the price and increase the country's stock. According to a forecast by the SRA, the Philippines will have a negative ending stock of 552,835 metric tons by the end of August, the end of the milling season. Importing an additional 100,000 metric tons to 150,000 metric tons of sugar is needed to prevent a shortfall, the SRA said. Citing SRA data, the PCO said the country has enough supply of raw sugar with beginning stock of 116 metric tons as of May 7. However, the Philippines will still need to import 100,000 metric tons to 150,000 metric tons of sugar this year, since the expected local production of 2.4 million metric tons, the 440,000 metric tons allowed to be imported as well as the 64,050 metric tons under the minimum access volume mechanism will not be able to cover the 3.1 million metric tons demand. Additional report from Cecil Suerte Felipe. Moving on to the next headline news. Bad news sa mga nanay, sa mga namamalengking tatay kagaya ko. Onion prices could spike anew to 500, 700 per kilo. Report from Bella Cariaso for the Philippine Star. Farmers Group Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG warned yesterday that the retail price of onions could reach as high as 500 to 700 per kilo amid the abrupt spike in the costs of the bulbs. In an interview with the Star, Sinag Executive Director Jason Kainglet said the upward trend in the retail prices of onions will continue as prices have reached as high as 200 peso per kilo. Kainglet added that the Department of Agriculture and Bureau of Plant Industry should inspect cold storage facilities to determine inventories. He also noted that the DA and BPI have yet to issue an actual inventory of the onions. The Bureau of Plant Industry should be aggressive as the stocks are no longer in the hands of farmers. The onion industry is only small and DA knows the key people, the big traders and cold storage owners, Kainglet said. During the peak harvest, the farm gate prices only range between 50 pesos and 80 pesos per kilo. So at most, the retail price should not exceed 200 peso per kilo, he added. Sinag President Rosendo So warned that the stocks of white onions will be depleted by July and that imported white onions should start to arrive that month to prevent another shortage after retail prices skyrocketed to 720 per kilo last December due to scarcity in supply. BPI spokesperson Diego Rojas confirmed Saw's statement that the stocks of white onions are only good until July. Our white onions will last until mid-July, and for red onions, we expect enough supply until November or December, Rojas said. Rojas admitted that BPI has yet to finalize the volume of local onion production for this year. As of now, we still have to know exact figures in terms of metric tons. But based on the historical data and production months of onions, we expect a shortage in the supply of onions in December, he added. Kainglet said that the DA and BPI should allow the calibrated importation of onions. The DA can approve the importation of half of the supposed volume of needed importation, he said. For his part, Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food Incorporated, or PICAFI, President Danilo Fausto, said that at least 70,000 metric tons of onions should be imported to address the possible shortage. Based on our 10-year consumption from 2011 to 2021, our weighted average consumption was 179,000 metric tons. The per capita is at 2.34 kilos, and if you have 112 million total population, that is about 262,000 metric tons, Fausto said. He said the total local onion production was only at 220,000 metric tons. Our harvest is only at 220,000 metric tons. If our consumption is at 262,000 metric tons, we still need at least 70,000 metric tons to address the shortfall. Otherwise, we will have the problems again in the retail prices, Fausto added. Meanwhile, a senior official of the DA vowed there will be no repeat of the crisis of onions that was experienced in 2022 when the retail price skyrocketed to 700 peso per kilo. There will be no repeat, we assure you, Undersecretary Domingo Pangaliban said. Pangaliban gave the assurance and warning from Farmers Group Sinag and PICAFI on the possible shortage of the bulbs starting middle of July. We still cannot say what is true. Many are saying we have plenty of onions in the Philippines, but some are also saying we don't have enough supply. We will determine if there is really a shortage, Pangaliban said. He added that BPI has yet to issue permits for the importation of onions. Let me tell you frankly, we have not issued any permit for onion importation for the last 4 months. Now Congress is asking, why are you not importing? We are not importing as we still have the supply of onions in the country, Pangaliban said. We cannot do anything about it if the institutional buyers use all the stocks of white onions, he said. Based on monitoring of the DA on Wednesday, the retail prices of onions reached 200 peso per kilo in New Las Piñas City Public Market, Guadalupe Public Market in Makati City, Marikina Public Market, and Mega Q Mart in Quezon City. Moving on to our global news updates. For climate and the environment. Next 5 years set to be hottest period ever. UN. Report from Robin Millard for Agence France Press to the Philippine Star. Geneva, Switzerland. It is near certain that 2023-2027 will be the warmest 5 year period ever recorded, the United Nations warned Wednesday, as greenhouse gases and El Nino combine to send temperatures soaring. Global temperatures are soon set to exceed the more ambitious target set out in the Paris Climate Accords, with two-thirds chance that one of the next 5 years will do so, the UN's World Meteorological Organization said. The hottest 8 years ever recorded were all between 2015 and 2022, but temperatures are forecast to increase further as climate change accelerates. There is a 98% likelihood that at least one of the next 5 years and the 5 year period as a whole will be the warmest on record, the VMO said. The 2015 Paris Agreement saw countries agree to cap global warming at well below 2 degrees Celsius, above average level measured between 1850 and the 1900, and 1.50 if possible, 1.5 degree Celsius if possible. The global mean temperature in 2022 was at 1.15 degree Celsius, above the 1850 and the 1900 average. The WMO said there was a 66% chance that annual global surface temperatures will exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels of for at least one of the years 2023 to 2027, with a range of 1.1 degrees Celsius to 1.8 degrees Celsius forecasted for each of those 5 years. Uncharted, uncharted territory. While this does not mean that the world will permanently exceed the Paris benchmark, WMO is sounding the alarm that we will reach the 1.5 degrees Celsius level on a temporary basis with increasing frequency, said the agency's Piteri Taalas. A warming El Nino expected to develop in the coming months, and this will combine with human-induced climate change to push global temperatures into uncharted territory. This will have far-reaching repercussions for health, food security, water management, and the environment. We need to be prepared. El Nino is the large-scale warming of surface temperatures in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean,
The weather phenomenon normally occurs every 2 to 7 years. Conditions oscillate between El Nino and its opposite La Nina, with neutral conditions in between. The WMO said earlier this month that the chances of El Nino developing were 60% by the end of July and 80% by the end of September. Typically, El Nino increases global temperatures in the year after it develops, which in this cycle would be 2024. Despite the cooling influence of La Nina, conditions over much of the past 3 years, the warmest 8 years on record, have all been from 2015 onwards, with 2016 the hottest. Heat gets trapped in the atmosphere by so-called greenhouse gases, which are at record high. The three major greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Temperatures rising since 1960s. Global land and sea mean near surface temperatures have increased since the 1960s. The chances of temperatures temporarily exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius above the 1850-1990 average have risen steadily since 2015, a year when they were considered close to zero. Britain's Met Office National Weather Service in the WMO's lead center on yearly to 10 yearly climate predictions. While there is a 66% chance that one year between 2023 and 2027 will exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, there is now a 32% chance that the entire 5 year mean will do so, the Met Office said. Global mean temperatures are predicted to continue increasing, moving us away further and further away from the climate we are used to, said Met Office expert scientist Leon Hermansen. Temperatures in 2023 are likely to be higher than the 1991-2020 average in almost all regions except for Alaska, South Africa, South Asia, and parts of Australia, the WMO said. Parts of the South Pacific Ocean are likely to be cooler than average. And for our next global headline news, Chinese fishing vessel capsizes in Indian Ocean with 39 missing, including 5 Filipinos. Report from Agence France Press. Beijing, China. A Chinese fishing vessel has capsized in the central Indian Ocean, state media reported Wednesday, with its crew of 17 Chinese, 17 Indonesian, and 5 Filipino sailors missing. So far, no missing persons have been found, state broadcaster CCTV said, adding President Xi Jinping had ordered a search and rescue operation. The vessel, named the Lu Pengyuan U-028 and owned by Penglai Jinlu Fishery Company, capsized at about 3 a.m. Beijing time Tuesday or 1900 GMT Monday, CCTV said. Search and rescue teams from around the region have arrived on the scene, and China has deployed 2 vessels to assist in the operation, the broadcaster reported. Beijing's Ministry of Foreign Affairs launched an emergency mechanism for consular protection involving embassies and consulates in Australia, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Indonesia, and the Philippines, and other countries, according to CCTV. 2 Chinese crew members were killed last month when a Chinese dredging vessel capsized off waters in the Philippines last month. Over the past 2 decades, China has built the world's largest deep water fishing fleet. But as stocks at home deplete, Chinese fishermen have sailed further afield and become entangled in a growing number of maritime disputes and accidents. In 2019, the Philippines accused a Chinese vessel of ramming a Philippine boat in the disputed South China Sea, causing it to sink and putting lives of nearly a dozen crew members at risk. Ukraine war providing lessons for Taiwan, U.S. Defense Chief. Also report from Agence France Press to the Philippine Star. Washington, United States. Ukraine's war against invading Russian forces is providing lessons for Taiwan, showing how a smaller military can successfully defend against a larger one. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Tuesday. We've learned a number of important lessons from Ukraine's war with Russia. Austin said Senate hearings when asked about strategies to defend Taiwan against potential military action by China. One of those lessons is that with asymmetric capabilities and asymmetric tactics and techniques, a smaller force can do a really good job in defending themselves against a larger force, he said. With international backing in the form of weapons, supplies, and training, Ukrainian forces have not only kept Russian troops from overrunning the country, but have also regained ground seized by Moscow. Austin also told lawmakers that the congressionally authorized authority to draw weapons from U.S. stocks and provide them to Taiwan, as has been done with Ukraine, is critical in our efforts to provide Taiwan what it needs to defend itself. We are working on that initiative and we hope to have an action forthcoming here in the near term, he said, without providing a specific date. China views democratic self-ruled Taiwan as part of its territory to be retaken one day, by force if necessary. The island lives under the constant fear of a Chinese invasion, and Beijing has stepped up its rhetoric and military activity around it in recent years. Tensions between Taipei and Beijing soared last year after China staged massive military exercises around the island in response to then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Last month, Beijing conducted war games simulating a blockade of the island in protest against a meeting between Taiwanese leader Tsai Ing-wen and Pelosi's successor Kevin McCarthy in California. Moving on to our regional news updates. Luggage with 19 million pesos shabu abandoned at Naya. Report from Rudy Santos to the Philippine Star. A piece of luggage abandoned at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, Naya Terminal 1, turned out to contain 2.8 kilos of methamphetamine hydrochloride, or shabu, when Bureau of Customs officers examined it yesterday. The luggage was sent unaccompanied from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, via Bangkok, Thailand, on Philippine Airlines flight PR-737. It arrived at the airport on December 24, 2022, and was stored in the interline baggage room pending being claimed by its owner. BOC Nayad District Collector Yasmin Mapa said BOC officers examined the luggage yesterday after the lapse of the requisite waiting period of 3 to 4 months for its registered owner Norman Peñaflor to claim it. The luggage contained shabu valued at 19 million peso as well as clothes, bags, and range tools, according to the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. In Quezon City, Richard Briso, 45, was arrested in a drug sting in Barangay Apolonio Samson at around 1 a.m. yesterday. Police seized 50 grams of shabu with a street value of 340,000 peso from Briso, one of the most wanted drug suspects of Quezon City Police District Station 1. Meanwhile, Jocelyn Masinas, 47, and her sister Joanne, 23, were arrested in another sting in Barangay Tugatog, Malabon at around 3 a.m. yesterday. The sisters were reportedly caught with their 36,920 worth of shabu. In Makati, Jeffrey De La Cruz, Andy Anthony Quijada, Leonaline Mananghaya were arrested for illegal gambling on Tuesday night. Police confiscated 211,000 worth of shabu from Mananghaya and Quijada. Additional reports from Emmanuel Tupas, Gio Wong, Mark Jason Cayabyab. Moving on to the next regional headlines. Nueva Ecija rice production to drop 30%. Report by Belia Cacariaso to the Philippine Star. Palay production in Nueva Ecija, the rice granary of the country, will drop by 30% if the super diversion canal in the province will not be repaired, according to a group of irrigators. National Confederation of Irrigators Association Treasurer and Board Trustees member Dante Lasatin said around 1.5 billion peso is needed to fund the restoration of the super diversion canal in Nueva Ecija. We will have a problem, especially with the impending El Nino, if the super diversion canal is not fixed, Lasatin said. He said 17,000 hectares of rice field would have no access to irrigation with limited supply of water from the canal. The super diversion canal can provide 60 cubic meters per second of water, but we can only supply a maximum of 43 cubic meters because of its damage, Lasatin said. He appealed to President Marcos to act on requests for the government to provide funds for the repair of the water channel. The Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food Incorporated President Danilo Fausto said palay production would drop by 315,000 metric tons if the 70,000 hectares of rice fields in Nueva Ecija will have no access to irrigation. Topping off our regional headline news, DBM releases 15.1 billion to build 5,000 classrooms. Report by Louis Maureen Simion to the Philippine Star. The Department of Budget and Management has released more than 15 billion pesos to construct nearly 5,000 classrooms nationwide. Budget Secretary Amena Pangandaman recently approved a special allotment release order for 15.15 billion peso and the corresponding notice of cash allocation to the Department of Public Works and Highways and Department of Education, DepEd. At least 4,912 classrooms will be constructed in 1,194 areas. The allocation will cover the construction, replacement, and completion of kindergarten, elementary, and secondary school buildings, as well as technical vocational laboratories. It will also cover the installation and replacement of disability access facilities, construction of water and sanitation facilities, as well as overall site improvement. On the other hand, 131 million peso will be used for engineering and administrative overhead expenses. These include hiring of workers, the conduct of preliminary and detailed engineering activities, pre-construction activities, construction project management, and testing and quality control. We need to build and repair classrooms to keep up with increasing enrollment in our public schools, Pangandaman said. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte had earlier said classroom shortage is the most urgent issue that should be addressed to bridge the education infrastructure gap. President Marcos had committed to give priority to the construction of new classrooms as face-to-face classes resume. Training for teachers. Meanwhile, the Teachers Dignity Coalition stressed the need for comprehensive training for teachers and access to quality instructional materials for them to effectively implement the proposed changes in the basic education curriculum. In a statement, the TDC said the proposed concepts in the revised curriculum can only be taught properly if the teachers are knowledgeable and sufficiently trained. It is upon DepEd's shoulders to provide comprehensive training to teachers and create the proper environment where they have sufficient time and motivation to grow and further equip themselves for the daunting task of building the Filipino consciousness. It said, an environment with creators of good and solid learning materials must also be designed into the system, where intellectual inbreeding and stagnation are given no room to take a foothold, the group said. The TDC acknowledged the proposed curriculum changes released by the DepEd last month, noting that some of the proposals are aligned with its call to strengthen civic and cultural studies, social sciences, and humanities. It welcomes some of the topics included in the revised curriculum, including martial law, corruption, human rights violations, gender issues, and the West Philippine Sea dispute. Additional report from Jan Vic Mateo. Moving on to sports. Philippines stands ground in Phnom Penh. Report by Olmin Leba to the Philippine Star. Phnom Penh. Filipino vets in the country's very own Arnis Olympic sports and the stronghold of obstacle course race did the heavy lifting for Team Philippines in the 32nd Southeast Asian Games that ended yesterday. The Arnisadors showed their might and colored six golds, two silvers, four bronzes to emerge as a top producer for the 840 strong delegation that amassed a grand total of 58 gold medals, 85 silvers, and 117 bronzes. The Taekwondo jeans took second honors with 618 harvests highlighted by a three-peat in the men's 54-kilogram class by Tokyo Olympian Kurt Barbosa. Athletics, boxing, gymnastics, teams headlined by Barbosa's 2020 Games batchmates AJ Obiena, Carlo Palam, Neshti Petesio, and Kaloy Yulo. The surprise package wrestling and world record breaking and 404 battling OCR athletes delivered 4 minutes apiece. Obiena scored third straight triumph in pole vault in record fashion to spearhead a 4-10-8 tally for the tracksters, while the wrestlers exceeded expectations with 475 after 7 silver, 5 bronze delivery, and previous edition in Hanoi. Tokyo silver medalist Paalam and Petesio played true to form in ruling the men's 54 kilogram and women's 57 kilogram category, respectively, to banner the boxers' 4-5-1 collection, even as three-time individual all-around king Yulo dazzled with 2 golds, 2 silvers in gymnastics 4-2-2 take. Sustaining the charge from their six-event sweep in 2019, the OCR stalwarts brought out the broom again in 4 events contested here, winning all in world record times. Fighters from kickboxing and jiu-jitsu struck with 348 and 318 respectively in between the outfit of stalwarts from triathlon, duathlon, aquathlon 3-2-1. Soft tennis netters exceeded expectations and won 3 golds, a silver and a bronze as converted combatants in Kun Bocador and rising swimmers posted identical 268 harvests. Karatekas accounted for 261, while the late weightlifting peers of Olympic champ Heidelin Diaz netted 2 golds, along with 3 SEA Games marks, plus 4 silvers and 1 bronze. As in the past 2 SEA Games staging, esports wizards had a stellar performance and snared 2-1-3. Gilas Pilipinas reclaimed the cherished men's basketball 5-on-5 lost previously in Hanoi and joined the judokas 1-1-5, the wushu specialists 1-1-4, the tennisters 1-0-0 in the honor roll of the contingent backed by the Philippine Olympic Committee and the Philippine Sports Commission. With the dust of battle settled in Cambodia's maiden hosting, the Filipinos ranked fifth overall behind Vietnam 114, Thailand 108, 96, 108, Indonesia 87, 80, 109, and the home team 81, 85, 127. It was a long run downgrade from number 4 placing in Hanoi, but POC President Abraham Tolentino considered it a strong performance. The medal haul will speak for itself, said Tolentino, pointing out the fact that the team improved on the 52 mint, 70 silver, 105 bronze output last time. The important thing is we surpassed the medal haul last SEA Games and we have reclaimed basketball supremacy in the region, he added. And completing our news roundup for today in sports. Updates from the NBA. Nuggets take West Finals opener. Reports from Agence France Press to the Philippine Star. Los Angeles. Nikola Jokic produced a dominant display as the Denver Nuggets held off a late Los Angeles Lakers fight back to win their NBA Western Conference Finals opener 132-126 on Tuesday. Two-time NBA Most Valuable Player Jokic finished with 34 points, 21 rebounds, and 14 assists to give top seeded Denver a 1-0 lead in the best of 7 series. Jokic received offensive support from Jamal Murray, who finished with 31 points, while 4 other Denver players posted double-digit points tallies. The Lakers were led by Anthony Davis, who scored 40 points with 10 rebounds. LeBron James added 26 points, while Austin Reeves added 23 points. Denver led 21 points in the third quarter, but saw their lead whittled away to just 3 as the Lakers swept back into contention with a gutsy fourth quarter fight back that ultimately just fell short. In the first half, we were really good. Controlled the game, controlled everything, controlled the pace, controlled the defense, and then second half, we lost it. Jokic told ESPN, but whether you win by 1 point or win by 20, at this time of year, it doesn't matter. A win is a win. Denver coach Michael Malone saluted his team's composure in closing out victory. That completes our news roundup for today, May 18, 2023, Thursday. Before we end our live streaming, bati lang po muna tayo sa mga nanood. So si Kapit, na nanood pala, si Kapit Velasco was watching. Si Admin Sol is also watching. Si Ate Jolie is watching. Oh, Ate Tet, Viray is also watching. Good, Viray Taginis is also watching. Good morning, Presto. Good morning po, Ate Tet. Good morning po sa ating mga kaasdag at sa lahat ng mga kaibigan na nanonood ng ating live streaming. Kung mapapansin nyo, medyo gumanda-ganda po yung boses dahil po, hindi po dahil sa boses ko, dahil yung pong mic natin, mas maganda na ngayon. Medyo nag-improve po yung experience natin. Medyo nag-improve po. We're trying to make things better. We're trying to improve the experience of those who are watching our live stream. And hopefully, lalo pa po natin mapaganda moving forward. So that concludes our live streaming for today, and I'll be seeing you again tomorrow. Join me as I do MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga for Friday.